Do you know how long you're going to be deployed at a place like Haiti when you go?
Well, my job is really to get the hospital going and get started.
Okay.
And so I'll often be 2-3 weeks away, I would guess. But the first question I ask, or the first question I ask before I leave London, the first question I'm asked when I get to these places is, how long will you be there? Because it's all very well saying you'll be there, you'll help people, you'll be there for a couple of weeks. But actually, for a community that's got to rebuild itself, that's not long enough. You've got to be able to say to people, I'm going to be there for 2 or 3 years, maybe. You know, the group I work with, the agency I work with, is an NGO, a non-governmental organisation called Merlin, and they are generally there for the long term. You know, their strength is not only the emergency provision, like I help them provide, but also in the long-term care they provide. So they have health education and community health projects and whatever it may be. And so what will happen is I get in there and try and get the thing started. We then get going with the hospitals. We then treat the casualties in the best order we know how. Slowly the heat comes out of it, and then in come the community projects, which then continue for 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. And so, for example, Merlin is still in Haiti now.
Is that an acronym, or is it symbolic for something? Or
I think it's both an acronym and symbolic. No, Merlin stands, that's MERLIN, that's
Yeah.
a Medical Emergency Relief International.
Okay.
And it was originally brought about almost like a sort of UK Médecins Sans Frontières MSF lookalike.
Yeah.
Is that Doctors Without Borders? The one?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly that. That's in essence what it was. It then became more of a community type of agency and does fantastic work. But obviously it also now has to respond to these disasters. It's now in receipt of a government grant to put together a large standby field hospital specifically for this. And there's training going on around the UK at the moment to bring that together.
How did you get flown in there? Was it on military planes, or was it UN plane? How do they get you in there? Or are you on a like little turboprop?
Well, it's slightly make it up as you go along. I mean, in essence, what happens is you're at work, and then the telephone goes. You go to the Merlin offices, you get your briefing. They give you whatever data they can. You get hold of maps. Visas are generally organised for you. You're generally jabbed up before you go. You know, I'm jabbed up now in case I need to go somewhere, and then you'll generally get on scheduled airlines. Now, for Haiti, we went off to the Dominican Republic, and that was relatively straightforward. We did that through Spain, and away we went. It's getting into the disaster area that's a problem, because you don't have a travel agency there. You don't have a table. And the only person I met in the Dominican Republic was a charming Canadian who told me that really I was completely crazy to go any further, that they were throwing dead bodies in the road and they were robbing people and so on. So that was what I was greeted with. But your job is to basically get into the disaster area by whatever means you can, be that overland. Remember, all you have is a rucksack on your back. That's all you've got. There are 4 or 5 of you. This is what's called a disaster response team, and there's me, the medic, there's a logistician, there's a team leader, there's a public health. There are people basically to get this thing started.
Is there a security guy? Are you armed?
No. I mean, I wouldn't be armed at all. I mean, I may be ex-military, but the last thing you need to be is armed. I mean, you are aware of security. Of course you're aware of security, and Haiti was big on security. Clearly it was a conflict zone in essence, even before we arrived. So you have to be aware of that and deal with that as best you know how.
Are you protected in some way? I mean, does the common citizen know you're a doctor and give you a little more slack than if you were a tourist in Port-au-Prince walking through a bad neighborhood, say 2 weeks earlier?
No, I mean, being a doctor used to be helpful. I like to think it is still helpful. But doctors are targets in this day and age too. And every year, very significant numbers of aid workers around the world come a cropper for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You just have to be aware of it. And I don't hide behind being a doctor at all. I guess I hide behind trying to be nice and supportive and as friendly to these people as I can. Your biggest self-defense mechanism, best self-defense mechanism in these places is a smile. It is, generally so. It's your best treatment is just to be very on side and to be as sympathetic as you can, because indeed you are that way.